welcome to Above Replacement Radio. I am your host, Chris Gianta. You know what Christy Mathewson wasn't worried about? SIERA. When you're thinking about Pedro Siriaco, I mean, the only one that can compete is maybe Hannes Wagner's 1908 season. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Kern.
Like, if we just clip together every time we've talked about him on other people's profiles, we've done a Mickey Cochran episode.
I can't get past Rabbit Marinville. It's not necessarily Hall of Fame. It's not necessarily above average, but we can guarantee you we are better than just the standard replacement level college sophomore.
And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I would be doing better, but my mic just doesn't work today. So we're going to have to go no mic for this show. I hope it doesn't sound too bad. It's not bad, but it's not, it's not as good as it usually is. And I also like hearing myself like echo through that mic, and I don't have that today, which is very annoying. Yeah, I mean, it's but I guess, it's like when teams wear their throwback jerseys, this is a somewhat throwback episode. This is low budget ARR.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's for nostalgia when you didn't have a mic 2 months ago.
Yeah.
It provides that deep nostalgia for all the fans. Yeah, it's unfortunate. My mic didn't work for a couple episodes without me even knowing. So at least you have that knowledge of,
that's true,
of it not working.
Yeah.
But not too much going on in the baseball world in the past few days since we did our last episode. But luckily, we are, reviewing what each team should do at the trade deadline. Last episode, we did the NL and AL West based on, what they should do. Today, we are doing the AL and NL Central. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start from bottom to top with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the most straightforward team in the division. The idea is that you are not competitive quite yet, and it's probably time to sell.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And yeah, in terms of what they can sell, it's a little limited, but they do have a couple of good pieces they can trade off.
The main two are Adam Frazier and Richard Rodriguez. Frazier is currently on a pretty team-friendly deal, 1 year, $4 million. He obviously just made the All-Star game. He is under contract until 2023. He is he has his third year of arbitration coming up for whoever trades for him. And then also Richard Rodriguez, a relief pitcher who just underwent his first year of arbitration, so he'll be a free agent after 2024. His value is pretty up this season. He's been having an excellent year. And yeah, I mean, those are pretty much, if you're the Pirates, sell off those two pieces. You should keep Ryan Reynolds. There's no, he is not even arbitration eligible next year. He can still make $600,000 unless you want to extend him, which you have to remember which team we're talking about here. But, the Pirates can easily keep Ryan Reynolds. They should keep Ryan Reynolds. He's under contract until 2026. So there's no reason why you should need to trade him.
Right. Exactly. Reynolds through the end of 2025. So you have 4 years with him. And
also it says he gets 4 years of arbitration. Is there any particular reason for that?
I know
not even a pre-arb, it's ARB1, ARB2, ARB3, and ARB4, and then free agent.
I forget how players get to be that way, but I know the term Super Twos is a thing. I should look up Super Twos baseball. I think it's Super Twos. Super 2 glossary MLB.com. Super 2 players typically must accrue 3 years of major league service time, with 1 year of service time equaling 172 days on the 25-man roster, or the major league injured list. This is a little outdated as it's a 25-man roster. To become eligible for salary arbitration, Super 2 is a designation that allows a select group of players to become eligible for arbitration before reaching 3 years of service time. To qualify for the Super 2 designation, players must rank in the top 22% in terms of service time among those who have amassed between 2 and 3 years in the majors. Typically, this applies to players who have 2 years and at least 130 days of service time, although the specific cutoff date varies on a year-to-year basis. So it's basically, yeah, guys who were brought up like kind of early in the season, but missed out on the 172 days of service time that is meant to accumulate a year.
Gotcha. Brian Reynolds currently has 1 year and 163 days of service time. So, I mean, towards the end of the season, that'll be obviously a lot more. So that does make sense.
Yeah, he's having a great year, but probably not someone who you're selling. Like, if you're the Pirates organization, you can't give up on 2025 just yet.
No.
Like, that can't be happening.
How Brian Reynolds is, he's 26 right now, so he'll be, 27, 28, 29, 30. He'll be 31 by 2025. Like, that's, that's still part of your peak, essentially, right? Like, your prime is supposed to be like 27 to 34, basically. That's the middle of what's supposed to be his prime.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You keep him. You obviously keep Brian Hayes as well. But the main two pieces to sell off here are for sure Adam Frazier and Richard Rodriguez.
Yeah. Both all-stars, right? Or is Richard Rodriguez?
Richard Rodriguez is not, but he is a case.
Yeah, he definitely he was one of my how about that's, but he's come back to earth, but his ERA is still very good. He has a 2.43 ERA, and he is 11 for 13 in save opportunities. I get, when you're on the Pirates, you don't get that many save opportunities, but that can change if he gets traded. All right. So yeah, that's pretty much cut and dry what the Pirates need to do. Up next, you have an interesting situation. This team, a lot of people picked them to be NL Central champions this year, like they were in 2019, but they've underperformed. But they're in a weird situation. The St. Louis Cardinals. What do you got on them?
They're buying. Yeah, I'm just gonna put it quite simply. You do not acquire a superstar caliber player and then immediately sell at the next deadline.
Mm-hmm.
That just doesn't happen, especially when the player you just acquired had a rift with his previous organization regarding their approach to winning games, like selling at the deadline, not really showing that they want to win that much. You have to. I don't care if you're 1,500 games out. You need to buy if you're the St. Louis Cardinals. I know that they're 8 or 9 games out of the division. Similar amount of games out of a playoff spot in general. They're not in a very good spot, but I don't care. You need to buy at this deadline, regardless of what that means.
Yeah, obviously no reason to sell if you're the Cardinals, because I feel like they're definitely underperforming this year. Maybe they weren't meant to be. Maybe they weren't meant to be a division champion this year, but it can be fixed for next year. If they do, in fact, buy, they cannot get a rental just for 2021.
No.
That would just be pretty stupid. It would be kind of a waste of prospects based on, I don't know what their division odds are right now. I would imagine it's below 20% right now.
Oh, it's like close to 1%, I think.
Yeah, it's
let me check that.
And we've discussed the difference in how they're able to perform against above 500 teams and how the Brewers are able to perform against 500 teams. And we'll just say there's a reason why the Brewers are in that first place spot based on how they do against good teams. But yeah, no reason to just get a 2021 rental. But if they want to get someone for 2022, yeah, I think that would be a good move. Someone like Jose Barrios is under control through 2022. Their starting pitching staff isn't that deep. You got Flaherty, you can't rely on Wainwright for too long. He's 39,
Yeah,
and
same with Yachty.
the other members of that rotation aren't exactly cutting it. So maybe you get a starter with multiple years of control. It doesn't necessarily have to be Barrios, but yeah, you definitely can't sell, and if you buy, you gotta have some control with those players. Anything more on the Cardinals?
I'm trying to. Well, first of all, I think if you're gonna get another bat, I'd say make it an outfield bat. They have the 21st highest F4 among outfielders in the majors, and only 91 weighted runs created plus. So there's certainly room for improvement out in the outfield in St. Louis. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'll have to check who would be on the market, but I don't know. How do I find the playoff projections on Fangraphs?
That's a good question.
I thought it'd be in the projections, but I am not seeing it.
Yeah, Fangraphs.
I can go to baseball. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay, I got it. All right, 2021 playoff odds. The Cardinals' chances of winning the division are currently at 1.1%, and they are they're at a 2% chance to make the playoffs. So, I mean, do with that information what you will, but I still think this team they can't sell at this deadline. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, I see the Cardinals being very stagnant, maybe not even making one single move at this deadline potentially, and maybe because the Cardinals usually make their moves. I mean, at least with Goldschmidt and Arenado, they made their moves in the offseason when they were kind of prepping for that next year.
Is Byron Buxton going to be on the market?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't think he has that much control left. It's just a matter of how it's kind of a risk if you're a team based on his health record. I mean, yeah, he's got this year and next year, and then he's a free agent.
Right. That could be an interesting move that the Twins might want to make.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's something the Twins might want to do. It just depends on what his market is, because I'm looking at his stats here. 2018, he played 28 games, but I think he got sent down to the minors in that year. 2019, 87 games. 2020, 39 out of 60 games, and then this year, 27 out of 85 or so games. So that might alarm
injury
some
problems
teams.
Are real, but
yeah.
I mean, that's probably, if he's on the market, that'd probably be the number one outfielder on the market. Mitch Haniger might be there as well. We mentioned, I don't know, last show, we don't really know where Mitch Haniger would fit into Seattle's puzzle going forward. So maybe you should get some value for him now. That's, I don't know. I feel like that's just about it for outfielders that are on the market. Can you think of any?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's obviously Gallo, who's like probably
Gallo, sure.
the biggest one.
But I don't know. I don't see the
Buxton.
Cardinals. I don't see the Cardinals making that move.
Yeah, neither do I.
Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe you don't get an outfielder because you do have Carlson, who's still going to develop. You have O'Neill, who's been good, and you have Edman, who's been underperforming. But Edman can play anywhere, I believe.
Right.
You have Bader. So I don't know. Maybe are the Cardinals relying too much on a large amount of players to develop? They're a young team.
That's a good question.
And maybe they just I feels like it's they need, a select large group of players to develop to actually to go somewhere, because Goldschmidt and Arenado can only carry you so far. Dylan Carlson, I trust. He's only 22 years old. O'Neill's been very good this year, but Tommy Edman, Paul DeJong. Paul DeJong has struggled a lot this year. He has a 629 OPS, and he's also had injury issues. Tommy Edman he's basically like a singles hitter. He's hitting 261 with a 671 OPS. That's not very good. Harrison Bader's had injury problems for a while. He has a 711 OPS 98, OPS plus. It is just it. I feel like there is a bit of a concern with development in the organization.
Yeah, for sure. Because
And also, you definitely need starting pitching as well, because Adam Wainwright can only carry the rotation so far, especially in his age 39 season. John Gant, we've talked enough about, and we've said what we need to say about him. Kwang Hyung Kim has been all right, but he's also been hurt. And then Jack Flaherty and Jack Flaherty's on the 60-day IL, and then Johan Oviedo is, he's young, he's 23, but he's just not there yet. So you know what? I think a bigger priority might be starting pitching for the Cardinals.
right. And there's just the team in general has this spectrum. So there's Goldschmidt and Arenado are the stars there in their like early
And Flaherty too, but he's hurt.
Yeah, you got Arenado and Goldschmidt who are in their like late 20s, early 30s. Flaherty is 25, and then it's a lot of kind of older guys like Yadier Molina, Adam Wainwright, Matt Carpenter, and then there's a lot of young guys you're waiting to develop, like as you mentioned, Carlson, Edman, O'Neill, who's doing a good job this year, and a few other guys. But yeah, they're in a weird spot, underperforming this year, but we'll see what happens with St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean the starting pitcher market I feel like is mostly rentals. Like the highlighter is Max Scherzer. There's no he's a rental. I don't see why the Cardinals should get him. Maybe Jose Barrios because he's got another year plus.
Yeah, Barrios and Gibson have control through 2022.
I can see. Chris Flexen has been very good for the Mariners, and he has a lot of control. And I feel like that's a guy that, I mean, he's not necessarily the prototype of like a great pitcher nowadays because he has only 6 strikeouts per 9 this year. He also has 9.5 hits per 9, but 1.8 walks per 9, 0.8 home runs per 9. 85 innings pitched, 36 earned runs for a 380 earned run average, only a 369 FIP. And Jerry Dipoto is all for making a lot of trades. I could see that as a potential move for the Cardinals. Chris Flexen, maybe that's a guy you go out and get.
Yeah. Dipoto's not afraid to let go of someone with a lot of control, especially if they're not like a super top prospect. So maybe that's something the Cardinals would be interested in potentially.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're looking at a similar type of pitcher like Merrill Kelly, I'd say he's under control until 2024 or until 2025. So for like this season and then 3 more after this. He has a 102 career ERA plus. He has a 91 ERA plus this year, but I mean, you have to imagine morale is just completely down in that Diamondbacks clubhouse, and maybe he's a guy that could thrive in a different organization that's not losing, 30 out of 33 games.
Yeah,
similar type of pitcher, only has a 4 FIP with a 4.60 ERA.
Yeah, potentially that's something the Cardinals could work out.
Yeah, I mean, I think the long-term starting pitcher market is there, and I think the Cardinals need to jump on that.
Yeah, they can use every arm that they can get based on, where they're at. I mean, just looking at the, Baseball Reference rundown of their rotation. Yeah, it's Wainwright, who's 39, Carlos Martinez, who's had a bad year, John Gant, who obviously you cannot rely on, Wang Young Kim, who's
a free agent at the end of the year, I believe.
Yeah, he's 32, and then Flaherty's the headliner,
but he's hurt.
You don't have to worry about him. But yeah, there's not much there in the rotation. All right.
I mean, I'd say one last point. It's interesting. It's cool to see that Adam Wainwright is leading the rotation still, but it's also very concerning because that's where something went wrong. Because even if Jack Flaherty's injured, Adam Wainwright still shouldn't be the guy leading that rotation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
Because John Gant had good strikeout numbers last year and pretty good walk numbers, I believe. Like he just turned into a completely different guy this year.
yeah, you would
He had a 219 FIP in 2020, but granted it was only 15 innings pitched. But okay, 2019, 66 innings pitched, right around where he's at this year. 3.73 FIP, 8.1 strikeouts per nine, 4.6 walks per nine, which still isn't great, but that's still 2 less walks per nine than he's at now.
that's John Gant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. All right, do we want to get into their crosstown rivals? Or I mean, it's technically they're not across town, but there's only a river dividing them.
That's
I
true.
believe. Yeah, the Chicago Cubs, who, a couple weeks ago, we would have thought maybe these guys are buyers. This is kind of their swan song, where they're, overperforming. But then they've lost 11 out of 12. They lost 10 in a row.
Yeah.
It's been rough, and they're back to below 500, I believe. And it looks like they're in a situation where they may want to sell, especially given who they have in terms of upcoming free agents. So what do you think about the Chicago Cubs?
I think the Cubs are in probably the most interesting spot of any team in baseball because, they could either go for it and be crazy because really realistically their only shot, and this pretty much goes for everyone in this division except for the Brewers. Their only shot, I mean even the Brewers probably, their only shot of making the playoffs is through the division. It's hard to imagine anyone from this division coming out as one of the 2 wild cards in the National League. With what's going on in the in the NL West and the possibility for a team in the NL East to break out. It's hard to imagine any of these teams being a wild card. So it's pretty easy to assume that only one NL Central team is going to the playoffs, and it's going to be, obviously whoever wins the division. So the Cubs are, I believe, they're like 8.5 or 9 games out or something like that.
That's a good question. Gonna check that. I mean, I would imagine, they're close to 10 games out of the division. They're in a similar spot.
There's like a big clump between the Reds, Cubs, and Cardinals, in the division.
They're 9.5 out.
Yeah, 9.5 out. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, like this is, I mean, the safe move is obviously to sell, and I think that is what they eventually end up doing. The following players are either free agents at the end of the season, or they have options that could be declined and keep them from being on the team in 2022. Anthony Rizzo, Craig Kimbrell, Jock Peterson, Jake Arrieta, Andrew Chafin, Austin Romine, Jake Marisnick, Matt Duffy, Eric Sogard, Ryan DePera, Chris Bryant, Javier Baez, Zach Davies, Dan Winkler. All those guys likely not going to be in the organization next year.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Brian Rizzo and Baez are all free agents at the end of the year. It's hard to imagine they're going to keep any of them. I don't know. Like, do you really see maybe Rizzo just because like he's the oldest of the 3? Like, do you really see the Cubs keeping any of these guys?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation because this is probably the, out of potential trade targets, these guys are, this particular group, like especially Baez, Rizzo, and Bryant, these guys are the guys that fans are most attached, like their fans are most attached to.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the last crop of the core in 2016, who obviously hold a special plate in a special place in the North Side's hearts. But logically speaking, they probably should get rid of everybody. And Rizzo, perhaps the most likable guy in that group, he's already said that he's not coming back to the Cubs after 2021.
Yeah, because he said, like, didn't he say like he would have signed an extension? Which he did not do.
Yeah, so I mean that's an obvious, like, you have to trade him because he's not going to come back. It's not like Bryant, maybe they try to sign in free agency, and it would, be a little easier if they kept them, if they kept him. Same with Baez, but Rizzo, you're definitely not going to have after 2021. So
Yeah.
that's probably someone you have to get rid of. And then Kimbrel is probably going to be one of the more valuable guys on the market, given that he's a reliever.
I don't know. So Kimbrel has a vesting option this year, which means that, like, he has an option for 2023 that can only be unlocked if he does some sort of if he reaches some sort of milestone with his performance this year. I don't know exactly what it is, but he's been doing very well this year. So I want to look up what Craig Kimbrel's vesting option is.
Yeah, that's interesting. And he has a 2022 team option, which I guess would be picked up, but I mean,
well, that's what the vesting option is, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, the guy's been maybe the
vesting option. I don't know. It doesn't say anywhere what the actual thing is, but I mean, granted, they could just trade him too.
Right. Yeah, he's been arguably the best closer in baseball. 0.57 ERA, 20 for 22 in save opportunities, 1.12 FIP. He's been spectacular, and I think he would probably be the most sought after reliever on the market, and you could probably get some good, at least one good prospect out of that.
Okay, hang on. So this is from John Heyman from 2019, where he said Kimbrel 2022 option vests with 110 games finished in 2020 through 2021. Obviously, that's got to be fixed. Seasons with 55 games finished in 2021, and qualified physician concludes player does not have non-temporary injury. Okay, so basically, he needs like around the mid-50s in games finished this year. And then, I mean, that looks pretty good right now. I wonder where he's at currently.
So, I mean, for 2020, I guess you would have to multiply it by 2.7.
Probably. But he was also pretty bad.
He
has 29 games finished this year. So he's about halfway there, and it's about halfway through the season.
When you multiply his games finished by 2.7 from last year in 2020, it's 29.7. So I don't know if it's realistic given his 2020.
But I think there was two different options where it was like you can do this in 2020 and 2021, or you could just do this in 2021. I think that's what it is.
Oh, okay. What was the 2021?
I believe it was 55 games finished.
Oh, okay.
And he's at 29 right now.
Yeah. So the Cubs have played 88 games. 29 divided by 88 times 162. He's on pace for 53.
Oh, interesting. But you know what? If he goes to a contending team, like that could put him over the top. By the way, Kimbrel's ERA plus this year, 6.98.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
It's crazy. So yeah, he's one of the guys on the market. And then you have Bryant and Baez outside of Rizzo and Kimbrel. You have Bryant and Baez. Bryant, he's been struggling hard ever since like the beginning of June, pretty much. Mm-hmm. So his trade value probably has gone.
It's diminished significantly. Where it was last offseason, where they were making rumors about it.
Yeah, Baez. Baez has been kind of treading water the whole year. I think you could get whoever maybe misses out on Story might try to get Javier Baez.
Yep.
That's something to look at. So yeah, I mean, it would be a huge transition if the Cubs, went all in and sold all those guys, but it might be necessary to do for the purpose of the organization.
Yeah, I feel like these last 2 weeks since the combined no-hitter have been like sort of a slap in the face with reality, where it's like, this team is going to look a lot different next year. This might be a sign to start taking action now and not make a decision that you might regret later on.
Right. yeah, maybe this begins the rebuilding process on the north side. All right. Now to the Cincinnati Reds, who are also in an interesting spot. They're second in the division. They're still, I would imagine, like 7 games out. But been doing okay, but they're kind of in a weird stagnant state. What do you got on them?
Yeah, I mean, I think they are in a very weird state. Their only free agents coming up are Sean Doolittle and Michael Lorenzen. So obviously 2 people who have kind of been, I think that, they've both been in the bullpen, but I don't think they've been doing very well. Doolittle's, going to be 35 next year. So, that's something you're going to want to consider, obviously.
Yeah. That is something you want to consider. I don't know what the Reds should do.
I feel like the Reds are in a similar spot to the Cardinals, where if they want to buy, I'm not going to be against it, but they should look towards people with 22, guaranteed salaries as well.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think
no rentals.
I think if they go after anything specifically, you got to get bullpen help. They're second to last in bullpen ERA. The only team below them is the Rockies. At least as of yesterday, maybe that changed, but I can't imagine it did.
And not to mention, Lucas Sims and TJ Antone are both on the IL right now.
Right, and Amir Garrett has not been what you would expect him to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe get a reliever or 2 with multiple years of control left on them. I think that's all you really can do.
There's a lot of good options within the division. Like we just mentioned, Craig Kimbrell. I don't know if they do that, but Richard Rodriguez is available. There's plenty of guys in the Cubs bullpen that are available. Andrew Chafin and Ryan Tepera are both guys that either are free agents next year or have options. So maybe those might not be the guys, but I mean, if you want to make your bullpen better for the time being, they're right there, and you could probably just re-sign them because I can't imagine they'd have too much value.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of interesting relievers. Steve Cishek with the Angels has a 3 ERA with a 3.01 xERA. The only thing is he just hasn't given up a home run, which is actually very good, but that gives him a 4.84 expected FIP. Of course, there's a lot of interesting relievers out there that I feel like they could look towards.
Yeah, very much so. And yeah, I don't think anything's really off the table. Any non-competitive team who just has a decent reliever, and they all at least have one decent reliever, can just give that up for, and the asking price wouldn't be too much, I would imagine, if you're the Reds.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's Cincinnati. They're kind of in a state where probably not going to do anything this year, but maybe could gear up for 2022. Not that they've been bad, but I think the likelihood of them getting into the playoffs is low. I think we would both agree on that.
But I mean, this team is a bullpen away. Like they have a very good offense. They have pretty good starting pitching. They have, if they can stay healthy, they got Luis Castillo, who's obviously, he's had his struggles this year, but he's been pretty unlucky. Sonny Gray's been hurt. Tyler Mahle's been very good. It does seem like they're a bullpen away, especially in a relatively weak division. This is a team that is a bullpen away from going all in, really.
Yeah. I probably would agree with that. I mean, they were able to make some noise. I mean, I guess it was expanded playoffs, but they were able to make some noise in 2020 with a mediocre bullpen. So if they are able to add to that pen, maybe we could see something. The division leading Milwaukee Brewers. What do you got for them?
I mean, this is pretty easy. A bat. They need a bat really bad. Their offense on the year is still pretty subpar. Trying to find where they rank as far as they're 13th in F4, which is not bad, but they also have a 90 weighted runs created plus.
Yeah.
Which I mean, you can't. They're just 21st in the league. You can't go into the playoffs with a team weighted runs created plus of 90.
Yeah, that would be tough. That would be tough.
That can't happen. Willie Adames has been an excellent trade for them. But they need more. Pretty obvious.
You mentioned when I did him as a how about that a couple episodes ago, you mentioned that maybe the Brewers should go after someone like Joey Gallo.
Yeah, I did mention that.
Yeah,
I don't know if they will, but it'd be interesting. They have a couple guys who have done well for them. I'd say that who do you really see? I mean, I think the main point is who do you really see in that Brewers lineup right now where you're like, oh shoot, it's that guy. Like, we got to be careful.
Yeah, it's really nobody.
Who really I mean, I guess by default it's Yelich by his past, but he hasn't really been that guy since 2019, since he got that injury. Like, he was okay in 2020 and he's kind of okay in 2021 as well. I mean, the team that, Colton Wong also just went down with an injury, so that's pretty difficult for them. This team just Daniel Vogelbach also just went down with an injury. It's simple. This team, they've been relying on breakouts from guys like Jace Peterson to stay afloat. Guys like Omar Narvaez with a mid-9s OPS. They just got Rowdy Tellez as well, which is kind of just that's the replacement for Daniel Vogelbach, really, when you think about it.
He's just the left-handed first base bat, and
the power bat, the exclusive power bat, who will hit 200, 250, and then 400 with a 650 OPS.
Right. Yeah. I think Gallo probably is the number one target. Potentially, you look at.
I don't see that being realistic though. I don't know. I see them as more of a Nelson Cruz type team where it's not as much value, but same idea.
Yeah, but I mean, where are you going to put him?
You're going to have to throw him in the outfield.
And
then here's what you do in playoff games. In playoff games, you put Nelson Cruz in right, and then you put Jackie Bradley Jr. in right for the last 3 innings of the game.
I mean, I don't know. Give Cruz a first baseman's mitt and see what happens.
I guess.
I don't know. I feel like they should just.
Listen, Milwaukee has shown in the past that they don't care about defensive positioning. They had Travis Shaw, Mike Moustakas, and
right, yeah.
Yeah, remember when they had Mike Moustakas playing second?
Right, yeah. And then he kind of became a decent second baseman, and he's still is. But Gallo, take a look at him, but I don't know. Yeah, we don't know how realistic that is. CJ Cron potentially. I don't know if they're looking for a right-handed bat as a first baseman. I don't know if they're looking, for a guy that's right-handed, but he would be probably an upgrade over someone like Rowdy Tellez. He's having a pretty good year. And I'm trying to think of any other bats on the market. I mean, I don't think they would do it because it's interdivisional, but Anthony Rizzo, I don't think that would happen.
They would never.
But yeah, you can't do that. But if he was on another team, that would probably be another option. And I also what I put down is every team can use an extra reliever or two. I think potentially, they have a decent bullpen. I looked as of yesterday, their bullpen ERA ranked 10th in the MLB, which is pretty good. But they could add upon that.
You can never have too many relievers, and it doesn't even have to be an ace reliever, like a closer, right. Like a lockdown. It could just be someone who can shut a door for you every now and then.
Yeah, someone to use in the 7th inning or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that does it for the National League Central. We go now to the American League Central. This team has been mentioned multiple times previously because of what they have to offer. The Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, I mean, what a disaster this team has been. I mean, you trade Nelson Cruz. Maybe you trade Jose Barrios. Maybe you trade Taylor Rogers. Maybe you trade Byron. Taylor Rogers, the guy we haven't even mentioned. That guy should be on a lot of teams' radars.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you trade Buxton. I think realistically you keep him with the injury stuff because this team still. I mean, like sort of opposite to like we mentioned with the Reds. Like they still have a very good offense. There's the pitching is blown up in their face this year, and that's been the reason why they've been underperforming as much as they have been.
Right. Yeah, that's been the issue that they were at. The Twins pitching was actually a slightly alarming of mine.
Yeah.
Way back, like in May, and it's continued. Hasn't gotten any better. Yeah. The three guys I put down were Barrios, Cruz, and Taylor Rogers. Yeah, Taylor Rogers. Just a breakdown of him. He's got a 2.45 ERA. He's 8 for 10 in save opportunities, but I would imagine he's not in the ninth all the time. He's kind of sharing that role with Hansel Robles for whatever reason. But yeah, 2.45 ERA, 2.03 FIP, 12.5 strikeouts per nine, 1.7 walks per nine. Yeah, over his strikeout to walk ratio is over 7. Like he's very valuable in that market, and he doesn't have a crazy amount of control left. Yeah, he's this year and next year in terms of control. So he's someone a team can use, a lefty arm that can shut the door. But yeah, Cruz is an obvious. He only signed a 1-year contract, and Barrios is under control this year and next year, and could bring a lot of value back.
Another guy I'm thinking is Michael Pineda.
Mm-hmm.
That's a guy who you probably trade. He's in his age 32 season right now. He's got he's got a year and a half basically left on his deal. He's a free agent after 2022. This year he's been all right, 4.11 ERA, 4.45 FIP, 220 walks per nine, just very high home run rate, which in theory could go down, and then 8.7 strikeouts per nine, which is actually pretty excellent considering, I guess, what most people would expect from him. He's had very consistent strikeout numbers since 2017, although they are just a bit down this year. Since 2017, his strikeouts per nine have gone from 860 to 863 to 844 to 807, but that's still not that bad. His ground ball rate has stayed right around the mid 30s since 2019, but his home run to fly ball ratio has been not in his favor, 14.7% this year, suggesting that maybe he could be a little bit luckier with that. That's a team that if a team needs like a 3 or 4 starter, I'd say Michael Pineda would be a decent name to get.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, what team? Like, I don't know. What's the team that needs rotation depth?
Depth. I mean, I don't think it would be the Red Sox. They have a good amount of starters,
and they have a bit of a history against Pineda.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Maybe like, what about like Toronto?
Yeah. I think Toronto can use a guy like him.
That could be interesting. That's a team that just desperately needs starting pitching. Maybe the Angels.
Right.
The Mariners.
I think the one thing that might change the narrative with the Twins at the deadline is if they think, this year is a fluke year, we can still compete in 2022. So we're going to keep Barrios and Rogers and maybe try to plan on re-signing Cruz after year's end. I think maybe that gets in the way. It's just, I think it's a matter of how the front office views this franchise, because everyone planned on them being a contender this year.
I had them winning the division. Hand up, I had it.
Yeah. So that's something that can get in the way on them selling, which I would kind of understand. But I mean, the White Sox are set up to dominate the AL Central for years. It's just, how far will the Twins go to maybe build a 2022 team, like a solid 2022 team. But maybe they don't. Maybe they sell like everyone is saying they will. I mean, like all the sources are saying like Barrios is one of the top trade targets. So if it's getting around, they're probably going to sell. Anything more on the Twins?
Not necessarily. I don't think. I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of going up and down the roster here. I think the guys who you consider trading, we've already mentioned.
Right. Yep.
Is anything maybe like also Alex Colomé? He's got a mutual option for 2022, which means he's got, I think, 2 more years. Or no,
right.
Okay, there's a 2022 mutual option, which probably won't get picked up with the way he's been performing this year.
Yeah.
Maybe as a team, if you're a team that needs bullpen help desperately, you look at his past and you're like, hey, this guy's been good recently, just not this year, on a club that just hasn't been good this year. I don't know.
Yeah, his ERA has gone down a little bit since I had him as a slightly alarming, but I don't know. Like, I don't, nothing too crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 4.99 ERA. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think they would get that much for him, but they could end up trading him. All right, the Kansas City Royals. They're in an interesting spot. I don't know how many assets they have to sell. What do you have them doing?
That is a good question. What do I have them doing? Because they were my sleeper team at the beginning of the year. They started out hot, but they've been just completely tanking ever since. I mean, I'd say the one untouchable is probably Salvador Perez. I mean, you just extended him, and I don't know how many teams are going to take a 5-year, $82 million contract on him.
Right.
Or however much that was. 4-year maybe. No, it was 4-year, 82 mil. Yeah, that's not. No one's going to take that. People have been saying trade Whit Merrifield for a while. He's 33 now, so maybe the time is right.
Yeah, potentially.
I don't know. I just don't know. I feel like they wait for an offseason to do that. Like, I don't think they just do that abruptly because he is kind of the face of their. I mean, I guess besides Perez, like he's the best player they have. He's been a sign of the future for a while, but realistically, I think it's time to move on from that. I don't really see them competing anytime particularly soon because even when I had them as a sleeper team, I said like, this team could finish 500 and show signs that they're close, but that just hasn't happened this year. I don't know. Like this is a difficult team to really break down. I'd say just like, you have guys like Mike Minor and Carlos Santana who maybe you just like let go of for whatever you can get, probably not much. That's about all I can really think of.
Yeah, Merrifield is under control through 2023, so you can get some good value out of him, and he's cheap also.
Mm-hmm.
So he would have high trade value. So potentially that's something that could happen, but I don't see it like you. I don't see it happening at this particular trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
I think Carlos Santana might be a good trade option to someone who needs maybe first base help or help with the bat.
Maybe that could be a Brewers trade.
Right. Exactly. That's someone that they could look at. He's got, I don't have it straight up, but he's got like an upper 700s OPS.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good bat to have. So,
yeah,
and
I could see
him going to a National League team.
Were like really going for it in 2018. Like their big move at the deadline, or well, one of their moves was like, hey, let's bring in a 36-year-old Curtis Granderson. So I mean, I don't think the age is something that they'll shy away from with Santana.
Yeah, I think he could potentially be someone traded to a National League team and be like a platoon. He'll be a first baseman some days. He'll be a pinch hitter other days, and your first option off the bench. That's what I could see him being. He's got control through 2022, so it wouldn't be a complete rental. and I don't see the Royals like trying to be competitive for 2022. So they can trade him off potentially. Anything more on the Royals?
I don't know. That's kind of brief. I mean, I guess they have Greg Holland and Wade Davis for anyone who really wants to take that chance.
If
Yeah.
anyone wants to win the 2015 World Series,
Yeah, exactly.
uh, see
I don't
see what happens.
Yeah.
Or 2014, you know.
Mhm.
We could see. All right, on to the Tigers. There's a couple names I see, you know, guys getting a couple names I could see being traded. What do you got
Why
on
don't,
your
why
mind?
don't you go first if you see these names?
Uh, I'm thinking they can get something out of Jonathan Scope and Robbie Grossman.
Hmm.
I think Scope is only under control through this year. Maybe that's not true. Maybe it's this year and next year.
No, it's this year. It's this year and next year. Yeah.
Grossman is under control through this year and next year as well. But you know, you're not trying.
But
I
no, I
think
don't think he is. No, I think he's just under control for 2021.
um, well, either way, I think
He
they
signed a 1-year deal.
they particularly signed these types of guys so that they could potentially get something out of them at a trade deadline. So I think you just kind of have to do what you can with them.
Yeah. Scope has been actually doing very well for them this year under a 1-year deal. He's been playing first base, which is interesting because he's not, he's never really been a first baseman. Um, trying to look. I mean, as far like I think of him as a second baseman, and a team that's been struggling at second base individually is the New York Mets. Maybe that I feel like that seems like a fit. Jonathan Scope to the Mets.
Yep. Yeah.
Maybe I don't know if they trade him in division, but I don't know what Cleveland's doing. We'll talk about them later. Yeah, I mean, I could see Jonathan Scope to the Mets. As far as Robbie Grossman goes, he's like a potential Carlos Santana of the Month award winner. He's got a very high walk rate.
Yep.
So which teams are lacking guys who get on base?
Yeah.
That would be which
He's
good
someone you
teams
can
would be?
put somewhat near the top of the lineup if you want. I mean, he's got speed. He's got 10 stolen bases also. So he's someone that can be put at the top of a lineup. Yeah, you got to think who's a team that's in need of not necessarily a power bat, but you know, someone that can just produce well
Uh,
offensively in the outfield.
I mean, this team has a decent enough outfield, but the Red Sox are tied for the lowest walk rate in the majors, and Robbie Grossman has one of the best walk rates in the majors. So if they wanna, put in a guy who sort of, produces something that most of the team hasn't been producing, that might be a guy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, their outfield varies a good amount, but I think he would be an upgrade for sure over Danny Santana or Marwin
Marwin
Gonzalez.
Gonzalez, yeah, that might be a good move.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, you know, as Red Sox fans, I think we would appreciate something like that. You know, I guess their outfield has been somewhat outperforming expectations, but there are particular individuals who just have not been bringing it. But it's, you know, the outfielders that have been doing good are, you know, Alex Verdugo and Hunter Renfroe, but I think you need a third guy like Grossman
And
to really
if you
complete
put
that.
Grossman there, you can fix the second base issue by just putting Kike Hernandez there, uh, for the rest of the season.
Oh yeah, and I forgot about Kike. Kike has been doing
Yeah,
all
I
right
mean,
as
if
well.
you could have like Grossman in left, Verdugo in center, Renfroe in right, and then left to right in the infield, Devers, Bogarts, Kike, Dahlbeck.
Yeah,
That could be a very viable option for the Red Sox.
yeah, very much so. Yeah, because when Kike is not at second, it's usually, you know, Marwin Gonzalez, who's, you know, good defensively, but not really producing offensively at all. And then, you know, maybe Michael Chavis is up. Oh, or Christian Arroyo, I guess. Christian Arroyo has been nice, but you know, I think yeah, Grossman would be nice to have on the Red Sox from a fan's perspective. But yeah, Scope can be, traded to someone who has kind of a second base hole like the Mets. Maybe even, I don't know, the Giants, maybe, I'm not sure.
That is true. Tommy La Stella was supposed to be their second baseman. He's been hurt. I could see that.
Yeah, and Donovan Solano hasn't been what he was last year.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that a tiny bit. And yeah, that's mostly, the second base suitors in the league that I can think of. So yeah, that's the Tigers, the Cleveland Indians. I have no idea what they're gonna do.
I have absolutely zero clue. I mean, knowing them, they'll probably just, I don't know, they'll probably trade Shane Bieber, which that's sarcastic. They won't actually do that. Wow, they have 5 players with guaranteed salaries this year. That is insane.
Who are they?
Eddie Rosario, Roberto Perez, Jose Ramirez, Cesar Hernandez, and Brian Shaw. That is very sad for a team that is trying to compete. I mean, their players that are not yet eligible for arbitration are Shane Bieber, Franmil Reyes, Zach Plesac, Aaron Savali, James Karinchak. Like, they have a lot of good names there. But obviously most of them are going to be, in arbitration next year, in particular, Bieber, Reyes, Jordan Luplow. Luckily, I think Plesac, Savali, and Karinchak will still be pre-arb, luckily for them, because they are allergic to paying players.
All right.
Wow. Yeah, this team. I mean, stop me if you've ever heard this before, but their biggest struggle has been the outfield.
Yep.
It is. How does this keep happening? Like, every single year we are having this conversation about the Cleveland outfield.
Right. Exactly.
Like Franmil Reyes is more of a DH, and he's also been hurt this year. Eddie Rosario was a slightly alarming of yours. He got hurt. Yeah, I mean, like, what? Like, I don't know, maybe that's another team that could look towards Robbie Grossman, but they've lost 9 in a row. They just got combined no hit by the Rays in a 7-inning game. The third game of their season where they've had 0 hits. Like, I don't know. Like, what do you really see this team doing? Because it's becoming more and more every day. Like, it seems more and more every day like the White Sox are going to be a lock in that division and that the Indians are likely not going to make the playoffs. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know.
Cleveland, they're in baseball limbo, I would say. They're not competing.
They're in purgatory.
They're not competing. They're not competing, I guess. I mean, when you trade Francisco Lindor, your franchise piece, that's most teams that do that are in non-competitive situations. But I mean, they're one game above 500. Exactly. They're in purgatory. And I mean, I have no idea what they can do. I mean, it's weird. I mean, I kind of just want to move on. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, like this could be the one team that like just does nothing, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't see much happening there. All right. Do we?
I don't know. I mean, we should try throwing around stuff for the Indians. Like, I feel like we can't just be like, oh, they're gonna do nothing and then move on, because I don't know. I mean, outfield is obviously their biggest need if they want to compete. I mean, what do you really see them doing there? Like, what outfielders are on the market that you could see the Indians picking up? Because it's not going to be high profile guys.
Right. Yeah, it would be a Grossman type. I mean, I'm trying to think of who we've talked about already. But like, who's in the, what are some,
like Cole Calhoun?
Yeah, is he still in Arizona?
He's played 13 games this year. Well, like, I mean, I don't know. The Mets are good, not Kevin Pillar, but like, this it's just like, Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really I got nothing. This is the one team like where I straight up have nothing. Maybe like Corey Dickerson, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that might,
him out of Miami.
yeah. He's
Is
been
he
like
under control
he's been
through?
undervalued through the entirety of his career. I could see that's a perfect fit for Cleveland.
Right, yeah. I mean, I feel like if whenever Cleveland acquires an outfielder, they're just not. They're just going to underperform,
Um,
like Eddie Rosario did this year.
yeah. This is it is very weird that I just have nothing.
Um, who did you mention? Who did you mention for outfield? Yeah, Corey Dickerson.
Dickerson, yeah.
What's he been doing
I
this
think he has
year?
a 100. I think he has a 100 weighted runs created plus.
Yeah, he's got a 93 OPS plus a 699 OPS. Yeah, I mean, maybe he would fit there. I'm not sure. Do we want to move on to the White Sox?
Yeah, we did something. Let's just move on to the White
Yeah,
Sox.
yeah, it's weird.
This team has been plagued by injuries
Yes.
this year. So that's been like Yasmani Grandal just went down. Eloy Jimenez, Luis Robert, Nick Madrigal, all of them are down with injuries. Aaron Bummer is down with an injury. Evan Marshall is down with an injury. Um, as far as future free agents go, Lance Lynn is a free agent next year. Carlos Rodon is a free agent next year. That's wow, that guy is going to get himself paid after making 1 year and $3 million in 2021. Good for him. Um,
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, obviously they're not going to extend Rodon now, but
Yeah.
that's where they might want to look to re-sign with the way like he's in the Cy, like he's probably the Cy Young favorite right now.
Right. Yeah. Potentially.
That's crazy.
I think the White Sox. I mean, like any team, they can use an extra starter and an extra reliever. I think they really should pursue one of the top starters.
Max Scherzer, yeah,
Yeah, because
like that's the team that should.
I mean, imagine going into a best of 7 series. Um, you could have, Lynn, Giolito, Rodon, or Lynn, Rodon, Giolito, and then, or before that, you can have someone like Scherzer or
Mhm.
even someone who's not necessarily the ace, but like Kyle Gibson or Jose Barrios. But I don't know if interdivisional that could mess. I don't. I don't know if the Barrios deal is going to happen.
I mean, the White Sox are a team that like they can go for it this year and still be fine going into next year because, I mean, they still have an embarrassment of riches. They have a lot of great players that they could probably keep while getting guys like Scherzer. Eloy Jimenez is he started his rehab assignment yesterday, so he's coming back soon. Hopefully, Luis Roberts should be back by October, and then Abreu's got to pick it up a little bit, and that's fine. People go through slumps, but this team on paper, I know we've talked about our concerns with how they play against teams that aren't the weaker teams in their division, but they're a team that I think on paper they should be able to make noise in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, do you know what if like Eloy Jimenez has a timetable right now?
I don't believe so, but I mean, he started like if he started his rehab assignment, let's say in like middle of August, maybe.
Yeah, because I'm wondering, because and I hate to attach his name to like too many teams, but the White Sox outfield this year has been mostly guys that have good defense, but not like any power bats there right now, especially with the absence of Robert and Jimenez. Maybe they look at someone like Joey Gallo to bring power to that outfield, because they're like, even though they've had a decent offense, I guess because of their injuries, their offense has been a little underwhelming.
I
They're
mean, they've been hurt. I mean, okay,
yeah,
can I read you their lineup from Wednesday?
yeah. Go ahead.
All right. So they had Tim Anderson leading off. They had Gavin Sheets batting second, Jose Abreu third, Brian Goodwin fourth, Adam Engel fifth, Leori Garcia 6th, Jake Berger 7th, Billy Hamilton 8th, and Sebi Zavala 9th. That was their lineup. In a game that they won, credit to them, they did win that game 6-1. But I mean, you take a look at how much this offense has just been decimated by injuries. And it's not really, I feel like, looking at the offense saying they've been underperforming, like that's more due to injuries than it is actual performance.
Right, exactly. But it kind of depends on when they see Jimenez coming back. But if Jimenez is unable to make an impact by maybe September, maybe you look at someone like Joey Gallo, but I have no idea where he's going to go.
Or even like a Mitch Haniger. It doesn't even have to be that big name. Like I think Mitch Haniger could fit into that lineup.
Yeah, Haniger's got like 18 home runs in the year, something like that.
Yeah,
he's
been slumping a little bit lately, but
yeah,
he's been good.
Yeah, he could be a power bat in that outfield. So
certainly.
I think they should go after a high profile starter as well, and then a reliever. I think they should go pretty all in at the trade deadline, given their health and other things. All right. I think that does it for. I mean, anything more on the White Sox?
Nothing that I got. I mean, hopefully, speedy recovers to Jimenez, Grandal, Robert. These guys and I know that Magical as well, but I don't think he's going to be coming back this season. So.
Yep. Yeah, you kind of have to wait on this. All right. So that leads us into, the part we've most prepared for, the how about that's and slightly alarming statistics, our players to highlight. So now for our Friday, July 9th, 2021 edition of How About That? Who do you have to highlight for us today?
I got a guy who has come from a team that has, been a sort of a story this year, not for the best reasons, but Elias Diaz from the Colorado Rockies has been very good lately. He is slashing 300, 380, 614 with a 994 OPS since June 3rd. And out of 249 players with at least 70 plate appearances since then, Diaz is the only player that has a top 27 OPS and a higher walk rate than strikeout rate over that time. And something like this was kind of due to happen to a guy like Elias Diaz, because on the season, he has a 205 batting average with a 257 expected batting average, a 384 slugging with a 454 expected slugging, and a 290 WOBA with a 339 expected WOBA. And out of the 318 players that have seen at least 500 pitches this season, Diaz has the fifth unluckiest difference between batting average and expected batting average. So, Elias Diaz, he's been hitting the ball really well lately, and it feels like something like that was kind of due.
Oh, yeah. Elias Diaz. How about that? My how about that is someone you actually mentioned previously, just as a name, because he has been doing particularly well. Jace Peterson. I don't have much on him other than the fact that in his last 15 games, he is hitting 390 with a 1225 OPS. Also, since June 23rd, which is when this span began, his weighted runs created plus ranks fourth in all of baseball behind Joey Gallo, Shohei Ohtani, and Trey Turner. So he's in very good company and slightly ahead of Fernando Tatis Jr., Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Yordan Alvarez, Manny Machado. He's in good company in the last 15 games. And also, I think what's the most astounding here with Jace Peterson is before the span, his strikeout rate was 30.4%. In this span, in this 15-game span where he's doing very well, his strikeout rate is 7.4%. He's just not striking out. Like, there had to be some sort of adjustment there. From 30.4% to 7.4%. That is major. That's crazy. Usually, even if a guy has a hot streak, the strikeout rate remains in the same ballpark. Not the case here. So potentially, there was an adjustment made, and Jace Peterson is having a much better time making contact. So good for him. So Jace Peterson.
How about that?
Yeah, I did mention him when I was like, the Brewers, they've been relying on guys like Jace Peterson to break out, and he has been, to your credit. I mean, you nailed it there.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild to see. Not someone you would expect. All right. And now we go from the highs to the lows, where we're talking about players or subjects that have been underperforming. So for our Friday, July 9th, 2021 edition of
Slightly alarming.
Who do you got for us today?
I am looking at someone who I used last year as a how about that? Someone who's in a pretty key spot in his career, and Michael Conforto has been struggling a lot lately. He got back from the injured list about a few weeks ago, and since June 25th, he is slashing 079, 250, 079, 329. He's 3 for 38. He's 3 for his last 38 with 3 singles since June 25th. And since June 25th, that 079 batting average and that 079 slugging are both the worst in the majors over that time. And one of the pretty concerning things is his regression against fastballs. In 2020, he hit 327 against fastballs with a 564 slugging. And this year he is hitting 148 on fastballs with a 198 slugging. And he also has a 167 slugging against four-seam fastballs, particularly. And that 167 slugging is fourth lowest among 564 players to have at least 50 plate appearances on any specific pitch. Yeah, it's been that bad. And the expected statistics do favor him a lot with fastballs. He's been getting particularly unlucky, but Michael Conforto is a free agent after this year. And, luckily he is a Boras guy, so Scott Boras will be looking at all these expected statistics, but he's certainly not helping his case with what's actually happening on the field against fastballs and just all year, particularly since his return from the IL with a hamstring injury.
Yeah, Michael Conforto.
Slightly alarming.
Yeah, he's someone who, was kind of a part of what people saw as like the Mets' future a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And yeah, underperforming this year particularly. My slightly alarming, I mean, people don't really look at him, as, he's not always an offensive prowess. He's definitely more known for his defense. I'm a fan of him, but even as someone who is not known for his offense has been particularly bad as of late, and there's some reasons behind that. I'm looking at Andrelton Simmons. The wins above replacement, the Baseball Reference wins above replacement accumulator. He's just, he's still in the 100th percentile in outs above average. That's a defensive stat, so he's still been like the best defender in baseball, but his offense has been particularly lacking this year. So in his last 24 games, he is hitting 175 with a 470 OPS. In this span of 24 games, he ranks last in weighted runs created plus. Also in this span, his hard hit rate is only 18.1%. League average is around 35. So that is very, very far off. And overall, his hard hit rate is a career low. Overall this year in the entirety of 2021, his hard hit rate is a career low by 5.4 percentage points. And after never having an average exit velocity below 86 miles per hour, his average exit velocity this year is 82.9 miles per hour. And out of 187 batters with 150 batted ball events, Simmons ranks 186th in average exit velocity. That's second to last. And also, when he's without contact, his strikeout rate and whiff rate are also both career highs. So, someone who I expect a little more out of. He's been particularly underperforming on offense this year. Andrelton Simmons.
Slightly alarming.
All right, so that does it for players to highlight. Now we're going to look at a preview of the weekend ahead. I'm going to be pointing out some, series to watch. Daniel's going to go day by day, particularly with pitching matchups or particular pitchers to watch. It's kind of hard for this weekend. There's not any crazy good series matchups to watch.
I mean, there's one that you can't deny.
One that you cannot deny.
Not necessarily with records, but just appeal.
I mean, yeah, Astros Yankees is, not happening in the Bronx this time. This is at Minute Maid Park. But, the Yankees might, crawl out of the hole they've kind of put themselves in order to try to defeat the Astros, as the Astros have been. I mean, the Astros have been very hot. It's going to be hard for the Yankees. So, yeah, Friday they got Astros got Jake Odorizzi going. Nestor Cortez is going to be starting tonight for the Yankees. I imagine it's going to be mostly a bullpen game. Saturday, you have Zach Greinke versus Garrett Cole. So that's something to watch. Sunday, you have Framber Valdez versus Jameson Taillon. So, yeah, that's going to be Astros Yankees. What do you got day by day to watch?
Yeah, tonight is not a great night for pitching matchups. You have a few good guys going. Kyle Hendricks is sort of he's picked it up a little bit. He's 10-4 this season, which I did not realize. He's going tonight. Taijuan Walker will be going tonight for the Mets. Cole Irvin will be going for the A's. He's been pretty good. Wade Miley will be going tonight for the Reds. Obviously, Nestor Cortez, Chris mentioned, he's been very good out of the bullpen. He'll probably serve as an opener. I'd say the matchup of the night, this isn't necessarily the strongest one, but Charlie Morton going against Zach Thompson. That's in Braves Marlins. Zach Thompson has a 2.25 ERA on the season. Morton's obviously been pitching a lot better lately. So then you go into Saturday. Lucas Giolito will be going for the White Sox against the Orioles. By the way, Giolito's been struggling, a 4.20 ERA. Expect better from him. Anthony Descalfani will be going for the Giants against the Nationals. James Caprillion will be going for the A's against the Rangers. And then you have Freddie Peralta going for the Brewers. You have a pretty good matchup again in Braves Marlins with Max Fried going against Trevor Rogers. You have Chris Flexen going for the Mariners, who I mentioned earlier. You also have a pretty good matchup in Rockies Padres with Herman Marquez versus Joe Musgrove. And the matchup of the day, like Chris mentioned earlier, Garrett Cole versus Zach Greinke. That's going to be an interesting one. Two former teammates, obviously. And then you get to Sunday, and Aaron Nola is pitching for the Phillies. He's been very unlucky lately. Dylan Cease will be going for the White Sox. You have Jose Barrios going for the Twins, trying to pick up his trade value. Framber Valdez going for the Astros, like Chris mentioned. Chris Bassett versus Colby Allard in A's Rangers will be an interesting one. Kevin Gausman will be going for the Giants. Ryan Weathers will be going for the Padres. Tony Gonsolin will be going for the Dodgers. And matchup of the day comes from Reds and Brewers, and it is Luis Castillo versus Brandon Woodruff. So that is the last bit of baseball we have before the All-Star break.
Yeah. And then we got the All-Star break. We got the Home Run Derby, which is going to be very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that does it for today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and want to watch the conversation as it happens, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is called Above Replacement Radio. Also, if you want to follow us on social media, follow me on Twitter at Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_Curran, and follow the show Instagram at Above Replacement Radio for all the show needs. And we hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to see you on probably Monday evening, most likely, where we're going to be talking all the happenings in Major League Baseball. We're probably going to be in person.
Yeah.
I'll probably tell you why later, but yeah, we will see you then.
This conversation is over.